Good morning and welcome to Monday Mornings with Margie. Thanks for all our listeners or viewers that are here with us. And I once again have a really exciting guest who's on the show today, who's going to share with us some information about himself and his journey that I think is really courageous and also sheds light for all of us as we hear about, other people's personal stories and journeys. So I will let him introduce himself. We have Steve Karlin here, but I'm going to let Steve tell you sort of who he is personally, professionally, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, exciting. I've got to live up to that billing, Margie, so I'll do the best that I can. My name's Steve Karlin. I am a 61-year-old guy who basically found out, I don't want to say too late in life, but I waited too long to get help for the mental health issues that I have. And you may know me from TV. I've worked at KCCI for 32 years. I've been in Central Iowa Television News for 35. I've worked just about every job that you can on air at KCCI, and that's been really good down through the years. It's a wonderful place to work, full of great people who are very supportive and who have always, every time I've needed a challenge, I've gotten a challenge there. So this is the only place I've ever wanted to work. And I've been lucky enough to stay here for 32 years. Another thing, I shouldn't say another thing, the things I'm most proud of, married to a wonderful woman for 27 years. And through, she, life's married life is always challenging, but when you're married to a spouse who has his ups and downs, I am very proud and grateful for her love and her just how much she cares about me. Almost brings me to tears. Yeah. And if your kids are considered your legacy in this life, my wife and I are very lucky. Have two daughters. Maisie's 24, works in public relations, just moved to Boston. Lucy is 21 and is a junior at Georgetown University and is studying government with a public health emphasis. Both kids are kind, caring, respectful of others, and are doing what they can to help make the world a better place. And I couldn't be prouder of those three women in my life than I am of anybody who has been in my life over those 61 years. So I'm a very, very fortunate man.
Mm-hmm. Well, and also there must be something very special about you that you have these people in your life, because they're amazing people from what you're saying. And so you probably have to be equally amazing to them that they're with you and they're in this journey with you. So.
Well, thank you. I mean, that's a really cool way of putting it. Through whatever trials and tribulations we've had, they've always known that I love them. Mm-hmm. And I've never been physically abusive or anything like that, which I know some people who are depressed, they can have that issue. I do not have that issue. My issue is more saying the wrong thing at the wrong time, saying hurtful things that I know are hurtful, and clamming up at other times because whoops, I'm getting a phone call here.
Yeah, we look you on the screen right now. We have your screen up.
Okay, there we go. We're back. Yeah, it's my daughter calling from Washington, D.C. Okay, so here I am. But I will call her back. But they have stayed with me because they know I love them. And it took me a long time to, my wife is a physician. It took me a long time as not just a stubborn man, but as someone who has always done things on his own. Margie, I'm not a person who asks for a whole lot of help. Okay, I was kind of raised that way. And so my bad bouts of depression, thankfully, have always been spread out. And, when they would come up, there would be some kind of eruption. And my wife would say, Steve, you're depressed. You need to get help. And, a couple of days later, I'm feeling fine again. And that kind of just went in one ear and out the other. And something happened. Oh boy, it's about 3 years ago now that really made me think about my wife's plea for me to get help, and made me finally do it.
Are you willing to share that with us? I mean, that was one of the things I was going to ask you about, because for some people, coming to terms with this is an accumulation of events. And for some people, there's also a final straw that sort of pushes us to realize and kind of wake up to what needs to happen. Yeah.
My wife is a very organized person. And we were going through one of those gigantic Rubbermaid plastic containers of family photos and memorabilia and stuff. And, I'm getting goosebumps as I talk about this, because it just, every time I think about it, I'm ashamed of myself. But it's a good leveler. So I'm glad I have this memory to fall back on. Long story short, we were going through all this stuff, and I'm looking at these pictures of these little kids smiling. My wife smiling. Me smiling. Just picture after picture after picture of this beautiful family. These beautiful, happy, wonderful now women that I am surrounded by. And I started to cry. I realized that by looking at those pictures, that in all of those situations, I wasn't totally there. Okay. I don't know if that makes any sense. I wasn't everything I should have been in those moments, which made me think about our lives together at this point, to this point. And I was just ashamed of myself, because the answer was there all along. And what it is allowing yourself to believe that you need help, instead of just bouncing from depressive episode to depressive episode, and possibly creating some inner turmoil in my kids, my wife. I've always been very good at expressing my feelings, but I don't think they ever understood until I started going to therapy, what it was all about. And we've talked about that a little bit. A lot of it is very private, and things that I don't think they really need to know. But yeah, I've gotten help, and over the last 3 years, it has really made a huge, huge difference. Just in my my outlook on the world. Clutter is an amazing thing, and that's basically what I deal with is accumulated clutter from my life before them. And clutter is a very tricky opponent because clutter can rear its head in any situation. And just take me within myself to where I'm only thinking about Steve, and I'm distracted from everything else that I really need to address to be a good father and a good husband and a good person in general.
Well, and also aside from those things, it also, when you're sort of, I call it stuck in your head, and where you're just can't kind of get out of your own way. You're also just not actually living your own life aside from who you are. Right. Like to everyone else. Yeah. You're not even living your own life. It's sort of like you're in an autopilot mode and you're stuck in your head. You're doing the actions that appear like you're living your life, but inside you're in conflict and you can't escape whatever it is that's consuming you.
Yeah. I mean, that's been my life, and I had a wonderful life. I everybody talks about being grateful. Oh, I'm grateful. I mean, I have a much greater life than I ever thought I was going to have. And the way I made this public is, it's 3 years ago, I think September is when I had that moment. For some reason, Margie, I sat down a computer and I just wrote everything that was going on in my head. I wrote it to my friends on Facebook. I don't know why. I have no idea why. I wrote it to, I think I wanted my friends on Facebook to know, like if they ever had a, wonder what's going on with Steve. This might help explain it. And for some reason, I put it on my KCCI page, which, after I hit send, I was like, uh-oh, because I didn't talk to my wife or my kids about doing this at all. And then all of a sudden they're bombarded. My kid, this is 3 years ago. Oldest child was in college at the time, and the youngest child was beginning high school. And they started getting a lot of questions. But we've talked about it. They realized what a good thing it was because they saw the number of views that it got, the number of responses, people who have similar problems, not just the sympathy stuff. I wasn't looking for that. I guess maybe I was just trying to be as honest as I could with myself and just say, here I am. Don't do this. Okay. And the response I still get today is amazing. It's amazing. People who have problems that are a lot worse than mine, who are sharing with me, who are looking for help. Many, many, many men who say, I'm going to therapy now. Okay. A lot of wives who say, you convinced my husband to go to therapy. Yeah, it was uncomfortable for my family for a little while, but it has turned out to be one of the greatest goods, that I've been involved with in a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. So what you talk about that you went into therapy. So is that the primary thing you've done to address the depression? Is therapy? Have you done any other things? And what about therapy or any other supports you've had in place? What do you think has, let me think about my question. How has it helped you? Where are the changes that you've seen? What has it brought out of you?
Yeah. The first thing, my oldest daughter, both she and I, we have ADD. Okay. And I didn't know I had ADD. Mm-hmm. And this was after I wrote the thing on Facebook. And my oldest daughter, to her credit, said, Dad, she was just tested for ADD, was put on a medication. It has helped her tremendously. Mm-hmm. And she said, Dad, I think you have ADD, knowing full well that, you know, if he goes and he talks to this psychologist, maybe they're going to diagnose him with depression too. Mm-hmm. Well, that's exactly what happened. And so I was prescribed a medication at that point that has helped me tremendously. And then I started going to therapy probably about a year after that, because, you know, I was still kind of, hey, I'm feeling good. This is the way normal people feel, but I still had the clutter. Okay. Sure. And so I just said to the psychologist, I need to talk. And the therapy I used that really worked for me, and I can't remember, I can just remember the letters. I can't remember exactly what those letters represent, but Emdr Therapy. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was amazing. You know, on the face of it, it's like, okay, Steve, start naming things that from your past that are really uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then you address each one of those. And I'm thinking to myself, and, you know, you have this little ball because everything was done, or I've never met this therapist in person. Everything's been done virtually. And so she has this little ball and I'm supposed to follow that. And I remember the first time I did, it was like, I'm being hypnotized. This is supposed to work. You know, this seems kind of weak, but you know, but she said, just please take this seriously, concentrate on the ball, think about, you know, she picked what she thought was the worst of the things that I listed. And you know what? It was fantastic, because by following that little ball until she told me to stop and take a deep breath and then tell her what I was thinking, so many things ran through my mind. So many times I was taken back to the moment that happened. Mm-hmm. And I was able to feel again my part in that situation, and most of the time realize that it wasn't my fault. Mm-hmm. Okay, that these things were controlling me and were controlling my reactions to situations, to other people, to things that, you know, would happen to me. Mm-hmm. And in a way, forcing me to, you know, just look at the world through, you know, only my own lens. Mm-hmm. And that was fantastic. I mean, it was just a revelation for me. Mm-hmm. And, you know, that treatment took, you know, probably about 6 months mm-hmm. of, you know, like 2, 3, like a couple times a week, I think. Yeah. And yeah, I'm just a different person after that, you know?
Can you describe when you say that, like I'm a different person? Like, can you give some examples of either symptoms or ways that you were functioning kind of before that you have now, or other people? Sometimes other people notice before we notice when
Yeah.
things are changing. So I wouldn't be surprised if your wife said to you, "This is different," and you're like,
Yeah. Yeah.
So what are some of the main things you've seen change after getting treatment?
Yeah, I used to be a person who was always kind of on edge, who was
Mm.
always a little, you know, I don't want to say snippy, but I was always looking for a possible affront,
Mm.
which, had to do with the extreme insecurity
Mhm.
that I was dealing with. I mean, here I am, somebody who's on TV every night in front of tens of thousands of people, and pretty insecure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the thing that just startles me now is that, I don't have any thoughts like that. I mean, I think about this constantly, about how I would have reacted to situations before, especially tense stuff, pressure filled stuff, whether
Sure.
it be at work, family stuff, all that. I used to be, I'm rubber, you're glue, whatever you say, bounces off me, sticks to you.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
I'm a big lump of silly putty. Okay. And where you can put silly putty on the comics and,
Mhm.
pull up the image. Yeah, that's me. I mean, I understand what's going on. I'm not this, person who's trying to protect,
Mm.
his not necessarily self-image, but just, and not that I have to come out on top, just that, like, I'm going to stand up and be counted,
Mhm. Mhm.
Well, I stood up a long time ago and people have been counting me for a long time.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize.
Yeah.
Okay. And so
Sure.
now, yeah, I'm a lot cooler. I understand
Mhm.
other people's problems better, the empathy, the sympathy, all of that. And it's amazing to me
Mhm.
just how much more relaxed I am.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense, but
It totally makes sense. And some of what I'm thinking about when you're talking about that sort of, standing up and being counted or whatever that represents,
yeah.
I often think we're all in search of feeling like we're enough,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
and no matter whether you're on TV and a public figure, whether you're wealthy and a CEO of a company, or you're homeless, struggling, with mental illness or substance abuse, at the end of the day, we're all looking to feel like we're enough.
Mhm.
And I think until we can deal with the clutter you're talking about, right?
Right.
Because in my mind, the clutter keeps stacking. And at some
Mhm.
point, there's no more room for the clutter for it to go. And for
Mhm.
you, that happened with the Tupperware, file
Yeah.
bin, that you finally were like, okay, the clutter has filled to the brink.
Mhm.
And
And
I
at
think
that moment, Margie, I knew I was not enough for my family, the most important people in my life.
Mhm.
And that is why I cried and cried and cried and cried. I had a hard time stopping.
Mhm.
At first my wife didn't know what was going on. And then I explained it as best I could.
Mhm.
And boy, it's really just like a release of 58 years
Mm.
of, no matter what situation I was in,
Mm.
not feeling like I was enough. I can honestly say, for the longest time at my job, I didn't feel like I was enough. And that's why I protected my turf.
Mhm.
Okay. And I'm not into protecting turf anymore. That's, I love my job. I have a fantastic job. But, I've got to let other people be themselves too. And the only way I can do that is by being who I really am.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
How have your relationships with your daughters and your wife improved as you have, or others, not necessarily them? I'm sure you have other people in your life that are important to you, but how have you seen your relationships change or blossom?
Just much closer. We had our younger daughter home for 18 months during COVID because her school was shut down. And, I love having our kids home. And our older daughter was here for about 4 months. And I looked at it as bonus time.
Sure.
I mean, you would think that after, especially in the case of our older daughter, years of being away from home, I mean, she has her own way of doing things. She's an adult now, and she's been self-sufficient for, a couple of years. And, there was none of what, you might think would be stereotypical, kids moving back to their parents' stuff. And I think a lot of that, is of course due to my wife is just like the most. My wife smiles when she's angry. I mean, she's that kind of person, and so it's just the positivity. And I think my kids can. We've always been close. We've always been able to talk about anything, and that's one thing I really prize about our relationship with our children. They know they can come to us with anything, but I think they can trust that, I'm not quite as erratic as I used to be. I'm not, they are going to get a consistently strong, well thought out response to their problems. Like I think my younger daughter, I think that's what she was calling about. I think she's got an issue today, and I am proud that our kids call and hit us up with their problems. And as far as my wife goes, it's just made us even closer. And it's not guilt feelings or, you had to put up with this for so long. It's, it's our deep love for one another. And I'm just so grateful for her understanding. And, we have a wonderful family and a good marriage. And, it's just the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah. Also, when you get rid of some of the clutter and you also allow yourself to be vulnerable, like you did, I mean, like putting it out there on Facebook and on your work page. I mean, that's pretty vulnerable.
Yeah.
It opens your heart, right?
It does.
Your heart.
It does. And then, I've spoken about this topic and continue to speak about it quite a bit. And, I was pretty open before with people who I knew, but I am happy. And I've done it in some cases. I, just sit down with people and just, hey, you need somebody to talk to. I've got a couple of years. Let's go. I'm not here to solve anybody's problems, but because I'm not a professional, but I'm a good shoulder, and I want to help people. And this is a really good way for me to do it, because this is an issue that is just increasing in its complexity and its strength, and some pretty scary stuff. It's just spreading. So we need to address it.
Absolutely. So with that being said, and you sharing your story, if there were somebody listening today to your story, someone out there who's struggling, someone out there who maybe doesn't know they're struggling, someone out there who knows they're struggling and embarrassed or ashamed, or like you said, doesn't like to ask for help. What would you say to them now based on your life experience and your experience over the past 3 years?
I would say, first of all, to make sure that we address the people who may not know they have a problem, do a self-assessment, okay? As best you can, look at your life in total, look at your relationships, and ask yourself if they're all they should be. And if you are being everything that you need to be in those relationships. That was just huge for me when I finally did that. Also, don't wait. Okay. I waited 58 years. In a way, that's kind of dumb. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it didn't have to last this long. I'm very fortunate that, things never got bad enough to where I really screwed up my marriage or my parenthood or my job or anything like that. But, it was there. And man, if you're lucky enough to get to the other side, it feels pretty good. So I would say assess, which can be hard, admitting things to yourself, and then don't wait. Go get help. They're out there. There are people who can really help you, and that's the big thing, help you turn your life around. Okay. My therapist was always really good about, when I thank her, she's always really good about saying, oh, wait a minute, you did this. I just kind of helped guide you along and made you and helped you think about things that you might not think about on your own.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And so don't wait. Life is meant to be a happy thing. Be as happy as you can.
Yeah. I couldn't have said it better than you. I appreciate, and I'm sure there's somebody out there that this message is going to get to. And that's our goal with having these like real conversations, is so people know, like, there's other people out there that are dealing with similar things. And there are people out there that can help you. You just have to let them in to help you. So I appreciate you sharing your story. And your wife and your daughter sound like amazing women. So
they're just unbelievable.
That's a great thing. And Boston is a cool place to be.
I know, I've never been there before. We're going this fall.
Well,
so,
it's a lot of fun. If you want any tips on things to do, just reach out to me. Let
me know. Okay.
And I just want to thank everyone who's watching or listening to Monday Mornings with Margie. I hope you guys are having a great week, and be well.